Brutal Barracuda, a Sniper Elite channel.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're checking out the Striking Range Mission Weapon and Skin Pack for Sniper Elite Resistance. This pack includes one new campaign mission, Striking Range, along with its propaganda challenge. Two new weapons, the SVT-40 sniper rifle and the Mars automatic pistol. We also get two new character skins for Harry. We get the Resistance Fighter skin and his ghillie suit skin. And finally, we get a ghillie wrap for our sniper rifles. So, let's take a closer look at this pack and see if it's worth your almost £14 price tag. So first up, we have the ghillie wrap skin available for all of the sniper rifles. Not much to say here really. It's good to see another rifle skin in the game, although it is currently glitched on two of the rifles. On the SVT-40, it will not sit right if using the heavy parkerized or short carbine barrels, and on the ZK420S, here you can see it doesn't sit right regardless of which barrel we use. If we compare it to the Liberation and cloth wraps, you can see that it is a bit bugged. So I guess we'll just have to wait for the next update for the ghillie wrap on these two rifles to be fixed. And speaking of the ghillie skin, we now have a full ghillie skin for Harry, so I'm sure there will be plenty of happy snipers out there, and it's nice to have a ghillie suit to play with in the campaign and multiplayer. But I will say this, due to past confusion, this character skin, as with all character skins, is purely cosmetic. This ghillie suit will not make it any harder for the enemy AI to spot you. But with that being said, during an invasion or whilst playing in multiplayer, this skin could certainly make you harder to spot in certain situations. One more thing I would like to mention about the ghillie wrap, and the ghillie skin for that matter, is once again Rebellion have taken it straight out of Sniper Elite 5 and just put it into Resistance. First with the Invader's ghillie suit, and again now with Harry's ghillie suit. Now granted, they have removed the mask and brightened up the colours slightly for Harry's version, but make no mistake, this is the same skin, just slightly edited. It's one thing getting reused maps that we don't have to pay for, but now Rebellion are starting to charge us for reused skins, which I am not best pleased about. And finally, where they have just removed the mask and placed Harry's head inside, they haven't even taken the time to make sure it fits properly, as Harry's hair actually clips through the top of the suit. So, whilst it's nice to have a ghillie skin in the game, the fact that it seems rushed and reused is a bit disappointing. Next up, we get our second character skin for Harry, the Resistance Fighter skin, which I think looks a bit like Harry's lost his motorbike. This skin, much like the Sniper Elite 5 Parachute Regiment skin and the American Airborne skin, adds a new piece of headgear. But unlike the Paratrooper Beret and the Paratrooper Helmet DLC headgears from Sniper Elite 5, here we can only add the new Resistance Fighter headgear to this new skin and to the standard Harry Hawker skin. It cannot be equipped to any other skin. Whereas in Sniper Elite 5, we were able to equip the DLC headgear to any character skin we liked. So that's a little bit disappointing, but it's not the end of the world because we get a new character skin, right? Well, that may be what Rebellion wants you to believe, but that's not quite the case, because the hat and jacket, they might be new, but the bandolier has been simply lifted from Sniper Elite 5's 555th Airborne skin, and the trousers have been taken straight from Sniper Elite 5's Sullivan skin. So what we're actually getting here is only half a new skin. So then, so far, all we've got for our money is pretty much all been copy and pasted from Sniper Elite 5. But let's check out the guns and see what we get there. First up then is the British-made Mars automatic pistol, which is one of the earliest semi-automatic pistols and the first time it's ever appeared in a Sniper Elite game. It comes with an effective range of 80 metres, putting it joint first with the M1912, and its max muzzle velocity comes in at 552 metres per second, giving it the fourth highest muzzle velocity out of all 8 pistols currently in the game. And it comes with a max damage of 132, which puts it second to the Nagant M1895, which comes in at a max of 163 damage. Which is pretty odd considering the game states this was the most powerful handgun in the world up until 1907, and this gun was produced after the Nagant, so technically shouldn't the Mars automatic have higher max damage than the Nagant? Anyway, its max rounds per minute is 126, making this the 7th slowest of all 8 pistols. The only pistol slower for rounds per minute is the Welrod, which is to be expected considering that is a bolt action pistol. Its fastest reload time comes in at 2.77 seconds, once again putting this gun in 7th place for the fastest reload time. Now, the Mars automatic pistol was actually rejected by the British War Office for various reasons, one of them being the unacceptably powerful recoil, which this game emulates perfectly. It's on par with the Nagant as far as recoil goes. The Nagant has better vertical recoil, while the Mars has better horizontal recoil, but both guns are by far the worst of all the pistols when it comes to recoil. But this is the price you pay for high damage. The gun also comes in last place for spread accuracy, with the lowest we can get that down to coming in at 37 centimeters, and its recoil recovery time maxes out at 200 milliseconds, which is 50 milliseconds faster than the Nagant. Fastest time to aim comes in at 7th place at 139 milliseconds, beating only the Nagant, which comes in at 164 milliseconds. But the Mars automatic has the second fastest equip time, coming in at 295 milliseconds, second only to the Star Ruby, which comes in at a minimum of 222 milliseconds. Bizarrely, this gun has the fastest possible sprint movement speed of 122% and the third best aimed movement speed at 172%, giving it fairly decent mobility. Its largest magazine size is 10 rounds and its lowest audible range is a whopping 130 metres, as this is the only pistol in the game that doesn't have a suppressor option. But it does come with an option for a scope, making this only the third pistol in the game with that option, the other two being the M1911 and the model 1935A. So then, that's the Mars automatic pistol, and I've got to say, I'm not a fan of this gun at all. If you want a high-powered pistol, then you're much better off sticking with its closest competitor, the Nagant M1895. Using the Mars automatic pistol will alert everybody within 130 metres, whereas the Nagant only has a 75 metre audible range. And if you stick the suppressor on the Nagant, you'll still be doing 153 damage, which is more than the Mars automatic, and your audible range will only be 26 metres. Or, if you lower the Nagant's damage even further by switching out the reinforced overpressure receiver for any other receiver, you'll still be doing more damage than the Mars, but will have significantly better recoil and spread accuracy. It's just your reload time that will suffer. But as there is no magazine in the Nagant and each bullet must be reloaded individually, you can stop reloading at any point. It's not as though you have to wait and fully reload your gun before you can start firing again. You can just put in 1 or 2 bullets and continue to fire. Also, if playing on authentic difficulty, you can reload the Nagant as much as you like and you'll never lose any ammo remaining in the clip, which isn't the case with the Mars automatic. Apart from the option to equip the Mars automatic with a scope, I can see no other reason why you would ever bother taking it over the Nagant. Next up, we have the Russian-made SVT-40 semi-auto rifle, which makes this the 5th semi-auto rifle in the game. Now, this rifle is no stranger to Sniper Elite, having appeared in Sniper Elite 1, V2 and 3, with the earlier version of the SVT-38 appearing in Sniper Elite 4. Its effective range is 400 metres, so the same as all the other semi-autos except the ZK420S, which comes in at just 280 metres. Its max muzzle velocity is 1088 metres per second, putting this rifle second out of all the snipers for max muzzle velocity, beaten only by the Springfield. So perfect if you don't want to have to compensate for wind or bullet drop too much. And its max damage comes in at 100, putting this third amongst the 5 semi-autos. Max rounds per minute comes in at 468, again putting this third amongst the semi-autos, and it has the 4th fastest reload time out of all the semis, coming in at a minimum of 2.25 seconds. Now, semi-auto rifles aren't all about damage, right? It's all about rounds per minute and keeping that recoil under control. Well, the SVT can maintain some good recoil while hitting its max RPM as long as your scope zooms around 6 times or lower, as well as hitting 76 damage. By comparison, the M1 Garand cannot match the SVT's rounds per minute, and by trying to do so will give it worse recoil than the SVT. The Johnson can match the SVT's rounds per minute and also maintain some good recoil, but you won't be doing as much damage, and if you do up your damage, your rounds per minute will drop off a fair bit. The ZK420S can almost match the SVT for rounds per minute while simultaneously beating it for damage and recoil, but it's limited to a max scope zoom of just 6 times on regular and 3 times on authentic, and its effective range is limited to just 280 metres. But at close to mid-range, it looks to be a worthy contender to the SVT. One great thing about the SVT is its 20 round magazine, allowing you to fire off a lot of rounds very quickly. Compared to the M1 Garand, which can only hold a max of 8 bullets, and the Johnson and the ZK420S with a max of just 10 bullets. The MAZ 44, on the other hand, can match the SVT's 20 round mag, beat its rounds per minute, beat its damage, and beat its recoil all at the same time, but its muzzle velocity will be slightly less. The SVT's recoil recovery time comes in at a minimum of 320 milliseconds, same as the Johnson and the ZK420S, which beats the M1 Garand's time of 400 milliseconds, but it's the MAZ 44 that comes out on top here at 300 milliseconds. The SVT and the MAZ 44 come last out of the semi-autos for time to aim, with their fastest with a scope being 253 milliseconds, and its fastest equipped time with a scope of 583 milliseconds puts it joint last once again with the MAZ 44. All 5 semi-auto rifles have the exact same max sprint speed and aimed movement speed, and the lowest audible range on the SVT is 63 metres, making it one of the loudest semi-auto rifles in the game, second only to the Johnson. Another good thing about the SVT is it has the same active reload as the MAZ 44, meaning once you hit reload, the active reload sweet spot is right at the start, so double tapping the reload should nail the active reload every time, allowing you to reload much faster. How many times can I say reload in one sentence? Reload. Now, I'm not a user of the semi-auto rifles, but it seems to me if it's rounds per minute and recoil control that you're after for close to mid-range encounters, then the SVT certainly seems to be better than most of its competitors. But personally, I think I'd opt to take the MAZ 44 over the SVT. Now, as I said, I don't really use the semi-autos, but from looking at the stats and giving these guns a test, it really seems to me as though the MAZ 44 is the best. So if you're a user of these semi-auto rifles, let me know in the comments which one you prefer, and more importantly, why. Okay, now moving on to the main event, the new campaign mission, Striking Range. So, is it any good? Well, in the new mission, Harry Orca is sent to Tilleuls-sur-Mer in the south of France, where Carrion and her resistance cell have discovered that the Nazis have developed an experimental ultra-long-range guidance system for their V1 rockets. Sound familiar?
Jaguar. Some sort of guidance system.
And if Harry doesn't put an end to them, then Operation Dragoon, which was the Allied invasion of southern France, will be dead in the water. So Harry needs to infiltrate the Nazi-held fortress, recover the radio codes and frequencies, then sabotage everything basically. Unfortunately though, in recovering the information about the guidance system, Carrion has been captured by the Nazis, and it's also our job to find and rescue her. Along the way, we'll also need to take out various fuel trucks full of V1 rocket fuel, disable the Nazi communications, and electrocute the kill list target. So there is plenty to do. The optional objectives are fairly basic: destroy some trucks, destroy a radio, but the primary objectives are a little bit more interesting, and I especially enjoyed the very end of the mission when extracting. I certainly wasn't expecting it, and it made a nice change. Now, it's nothing major, but it was a nice little surprise that I shan't spoil here. The map itself is based around a large fishing port and has lots of big open spaces with some nice long lines of sight, so it has some good sniping opportunities, so I'm very pleased with that. There's a small town running from the south of the map up to the east side and a large multi-layered fortress at the top of the hill. There's lots of sneaky shortcuts and there's plenty of ways to get around this map. The map has V1 rockets that fire off every 2 minutes. That will give us sort of a half map sound mask, so much more regularly than the Nebelwerfer sound masks in Verkor's Vendetta, so that is great to see. I do enjoy playing Invasion on this map, but I just wish that Invasion was open from the very start. That way there would be plenty of long-range sniping duels as you try to make your way through the town, with the invader spawning up along the fortress walls. As it currently stands, Invasion doesn't start until you complete an objective, so if you don't take out the kill list target, you'll be able to make your way through pretty much the whole town without having to worry about the invader at all. Then when an invader does eventually turn up, it'll probably end up just being a case of close quarters combat from that point on. So I do recommend taking out the kill list target first if you're an Invasion fan who enjoys long range sniper duels. I do hope Sniper Elite 6 will allow us to customise our Invasion experience. Let us choose if we want Invasion activated from the very start. Let us choose how long we want the cooldown to be. But in my experience so far, this map can make for some great Invasion. Enemy-wise, I'm very pleased to inform you that the spotters from Verkor's Vendetta make a return on this map, along with a decent amount of snipers and a large Jaeger presence, making this mission a little bit more difficult than the majority of the missions in the game. But don't expect Sniper Elite 4 levels of difficulty, this game will never achieve that. If you find the rest of this game very easy, this is, no different really. On my playthrough, after killing everyone, I counted 118 enemies in total, but there will be more than that if you set off any of the 3 alarms situated around the map. So whilst the map could certainly do with more enemies, it is an improvement over some of the other missions in the game. Now there are no armoured vehicles on this map, which is a shame. I would have loved to have seen some armoured trucks, some 222s patrolling the streets, but unfortunately that isn't the case. So the first time I played this mission, I played on authentic difficulty with Invasion on, and it took me about 90 minutes to finish. So if you play without Invasion on an easier difficulty, you can expect a much shorter time. But if you like to take your time, explore everywhere, try and be stealthy, get all the collectibles, you could possibly get 2.5 to 3 hours out of this max. But I expect it will take most people about 60 to 90 minutes on their first playthrough. This mission comes with a new sniping propaganda challenge, if that's your thing, making this the 4th sniping propaganda challenge in the game. Now I did come across a couple of bugs during my time on striking range, a few invisible walls getting in the way which can be frustrating, a few ladders that you cannot be seen through, nor can you shoot through, and even some of the enemies' dialogue has not been quite finished.
Die anderen mussten sich die nächste Zeit erstmal keine Sorgen den Latrinendienst machen.
Yeah, but the colonel saw him make his heroic descent and, well, let's just say that no one else had to worry about latrine duty for a while.
Overall though, I didn't notice too much. As far as the bad goes, there isn't really much, I don't think, except for the usual not enough enemies on the map. But I think that will always be the case in Sniper Elite Resistance. Hopefully, Sniper Elite 6 can rectify this problem of underpopulated maps. The church on this map is the same church from Sniper Elite 5's Rough Landing, albeit with the staircase now accessible. Personally, it doesn't bother me too much, but I know some people don't like this kind of reusing of assets. But one thing that did bother me, and it wasn't actually from this mission, but from the trailer for this mission, and that is why on earth would they show us brand new melee takedowns that aren't in the game? This one here knocking the enemy out with the butt of your rifle, and this one here dropping him to his knees before snapping his neck. A bit more variety in the melee department would be fantastic, and it's needed, to be honest. Sniper Elite Resistance didn't add a single new melee animation since Sniper Elite 5, if I remember correctly, yet there are more available, they just haven't been added. Rebellion, add these takedowns. Why wouldn't ya? Overall though, I really enjoyed this mission. This might even be my favourite mission in the game. Possibly. I need to replay it a few more times to be sure, but it is certainly looking that way. So, that is the Striking Range Mission, Weapon and Skin Pack, which is pack 2 of 3 of the current Season Pass for Sniper Elite Resistance. But is it worth your almost £14 or $16? And the answer is, well, it depends. If you're buying this pack individually, then I'd say probably not. But if you haven't bought any DLC yet and are planning on buying the Season Pass, then I'd say yeah, it's probably worth getting. Individually, this DLC costs almost a third of the price of the game. And what are we getting for that price? 2.5 reused skins, 1 terrible weapon, 1 okay-ish weapon, and 1 mission, albeit a decent one to be fair. But I can't really recommend this DLC pack at this price. This is the most expensive DLC Rebellion have put out for Sniper Elite, and it seems like they're just testing the water, seeing how much we are willing to pay for a DLC. If we accept this price, we'll soon be paying £20 a DLC pack, and it's got to stop. It's not as though Rebellion lost money on Sniper Elite Resistance and need to recoup it, it just seems to be getting a little bit greedy. Now I'm happy with the amount of content that we're getting. 1 mission, 2 weapons, 2 character skins and a weapon skin. This is what I'd like all DLC packs to look like in the future, and I'd be much happier to spend this kind of money if we were getting new and worthwhile content. I mean, the skins are just reused and the 2 weapons in this pack are not worthwhile in my opinion. The Mars Automatic is just essentially a worse version of the Nagant, and the SVT honestly adds nothing new. If we look back at previous weapons added to Sniper Elite 5 as an example, like the PPSH, that added something new with its insane rate of fire. The Dalal Carbine added an incredibly stealthy sniper and the only rifle that can have a suppressor and a bayonet equipped. The Winchester added the ability to one-shot a Jaeger regardless of where you hit them, and the mod 712 added a fully automatic pistol option. They even ended up adding multiple shotguns. Now I know Sniper Elite 5 also added some guff guns, and I'm looking at you Pedersen, but even the Pedersen was unique in that you were forced to use the iron sights. But here we're getting guns that don't really add anything to the game. So buying the DLC individually is a bit pricey in my opinion, but if you plan on buying the Season Pass, then the Verkor Vendetta along with this DLC and the next DLC they release will only end up costing you £10 each, which is much more reasonable, especially if you didn't pre-order the game, because the Season Pass also includes the Lights, Camera, Achtung Hitler mission pre-order bonus. So if you're on the fence about DLCs and you haven't bought any yet, then the Season Pass is certainly the better way to go. At the same time, if you want to just wait and grab the Season Pass when it's on sale, that will also be a sensible option. Overall though, the amount of content we're getting in this DLC pack is good, and I'd like to see 1 mission, 2 weapons, some character skins, some weapon skins in every DLC pack. And I think it's great that all the DLC packs within the Season Pass add a new mission. I just think if Rebellion can keep that price from exceeding £10 per pack, then I'd be happy enough with that. Verkor's Vendetta added a new mission and 2 new weapons, and that pack was only a tenner, so they can do it if they want. I think they knew a lot of people were desperate for the ghillie suit and knew most would pay up regardless of the price. It would have just been nice if it was a new ghillie skin instead of the Invaders skin from Sniper Elite 5 with the mask removed and the saturation turned up. I mean, it's one thing adding reused maps and weapons for free from Sniper Elite 5, but we've now reached a point where we're essentially paying for reused skins from Sniper Elite 5, and that is not a good look. It makes me wonder, are Rebellion having trouble paying the bills at the moment? Because decisions like charging us for the Kar 98, flooding Sniper Elite Resistance multiplayer with Sniper Elite 5 maps, reusing the Sniper Elite Resistance campaign maps to create multiplayer maps instead of creating new ones, adding Sniper Elite 5 survival maps to Resistance instead of creating new ones, and now charging us for reused skins from Sniper Elite 5. It's clear that this Sniper Elite spin-off is a budget game, so why are we being charged £14 for a DLC? So, there you are. It's completely up to you if you think the price is worth it. Personally, if you haven't bought it yet, I suggest you just get the Season Pass or wait for a sale. I don't think we should encourage these prices, otherwise they will just continue to increase. But with that being said, I do think it's a great mission and you are getting more content than usual, including the ghillie suit, so you got to make your own decision. If you have bought this DLC, be sure to let me know what you thought of it, and if you haven't bought this DLC yet, at this price, are you going to? Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, it really does help the channel to grow. This is a dedicated Sniper Elite channel, so hit the subscribe button to be kept up to date on all things Sniper Elite, and I will see you guys in the next video!
Brutal Barracuda, a Sniper Elite channel.